Anyway, when he ran to Clark,
Is it rolling there, Ange?
Clark,
Okay,
listen.
good.
Okay, but anyway, this is familiar with the coffers around. But when he got up to read this, I looked at him. He looked like Mark Twain. He had a mustache on, and he had this beautiful, handsome suit on. And he got up there, and he just looked like he was on the road presenting this.
Were you his stylist?
What was this for?
I'm sure.
Did you lay his clothes out, Mom?
50th
Yes, I
wedding
did.
anniversary.
Good job.
One little hair down.
Okay, a little powder on the nose
I have the
and
two little champagne glasses that were.
We may never get started, Andy.
Okay, go ahead.
Didn't they go through town in a carriage too?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, horse and carriage, and Pat McIntyre played, the band played for the dances and that. Okay, anyway, yeah, Mom and Dad sat up in their swing. Remember that swing that was in the yard? I think Uncle Harold made that, and that was their gift to it. Okay, so anyway, I gathered all this information and I wrote them a poem for 50 years. Trying to cover 50 years was really not a task. To get the information, all I had to do was ask. So I gathered information and started on my rhyme, but thinking over 50 years is really a long time. So if I've missed some info, some important times or dates, remember that I tried real hard, so go easy on my faith. Mom and Dad were married in the year of 29 in a little town of West Bend. It is near the county lines down by Milwaukee. They had their first boy, Wilbert, although we call him Bill. He was born in March of 30. It was way before the hill.
Ooh. Oh, baby. Woo! It's getting hot in here.
Dad was working for the Amity to support his wife and son, but he really was a farmer. They moved back in 31, back to the farmhouse. The death of Grandpa Kopfer was also in that year. Now Dad was left to run the farm without his father near. But to run the farm he did, and well, and happy as could be. Another son was born to them. They named him Bobby Lee. But back to West Bend they did move in the year of 33, Mom and Dad and their two sons, to work for Amity. Uncle Ed then worked the farm for just a year or more, then Mom and Dad came back again in the spring of 34. And then in 1935, another son named Dick. Although born in the cold of winter, he was hardly ever sick. But sickness came and took its toll, and in our hearts a void, in the spring of 1936, we lost our fourth son, Lloyd. The years were long, though we had fun. The crops came hard back then. Mom had a helper in Blanche Hart, and of course Dad had Elmer Wren. Elmer helped with chores and in the fields, the gardens he would hoe. One time while splitting wood for us, he also split his toe. You know how they used to put their foot on a chunk and, yeah. Went through the chunk and cut his toe. We had some good and bad times with geese and sheep and duck. Remember when the milkman ran over Bill's toy truck? He left it in the driveway. We didn't have very many toys, so that was a big thing. How about the time when Bob, to the kerosene lamp, went near to watch the Dusty Miller and darn near lost his ear? He was up over the top of the thing, and then of course the globe was busted and he slipped and cut his ear on. And the time we took the water to Dad working in the field, I ran under the Carol can. We used to have Carol syrup in big cans. I ran under the Carol can and got my head half peeled. Uncle Bill was showing us centrifugal force, swinging with the water in it, and then coming, boom. Fun days. And speaking of those injuries, especially to the head, remember Bob and I got wounded jumping on the bed when we were sick with measles or something. We'd jump and they had iron railings and we'd fall off and hit the dang. But we had lots of fun in winter. On the hillside we would slide. The hill down by the river where Mom couldn't take the ride. She went sliding with us and dang near busted her. Dad worked the land with horses, old Barney and old Bird, that was the horse's name. And then the Fordson tractor across the countryside was heard. Although they call it progress, the tractor was a dud. It took the good old horses to pull it from the mud. Dad bought himself a milk route, a new truck in 39, and Buzz would play his guitar and sing us all a line. He was a neighbor guy, played guitar. The time Tarzan, that was our dog, warned of danger, a tornado coming fast, to the basement of the old Grand View, or else we wouldn't last. Those kids were in school, and Tarzan got Dad's attention that a tornado was coming, and he come up to the school, and we all had to go in the basement. So. The old Buick and the tire that Bob blew up alone. Can you imagine him blowing up a inner tube so we could get into town? The blue McCormick Deering with the bright red wheels that's shown.
That's dedication, right?
The kitten in the chicken coop lighting matches by the pump. I got my Indian tan for that. The lambs behind the kitchen stove with their waggly little rumps. We used to use to bring the little lambs in a cardboard box and put them behind the stove to keep them warm. So. These are all fond memories of our days down on the farm, and though there were some hard years, it had a lot of charm. Our farming days had ended in the year of '43. We had a real good auction, now city-bound were we. We got the Chevy from Pete Smith. Dad had money in his hand, and part of the auction I liked best was Fritz's hot dog stand. See, I can buy hot dogs naturally.
Treat.
We finished school and walked to town. Dad worked the plant at night. That was the milk products. We used to take his lunch to him and watch him smoke his pipe. How exciting, huh? Then came the partnership with Merv and all the trucks we had. Dave Gorman in his garden saying all us kids were bad. We played ball, and he had a garden. When the ball went in his garden, he used to, "You kids, get out of my garden." Jack Tibbett and his ice truck. The city had its charm. Bob falling off the milk truck and breaking his right arm. And then, surprise, another son. Our family came alive. Our little brother Michael was born in '45. We fenced the yard for Michael. Grandma Habrel lived behind. Remember Prince and all those quills when he met the porcupine? Yeah. He got to throw his head a whole nose full of quills. The passing of the Bond Street between Dad and Tony Hankey, that was a pipe tobacco. And swimming in the river up at the Little Eddy. Carrying the milk back home was just another chore. Charging groceries on the corner at Harry Rayborn's store. And buying gas from Freddie Wall and shopping the big store. These are some fond memories, and I'm missing many more. Mom's new stove, home comfort. The round table that was big. And all the fun we had sitting there and playing pig. That was a game where you drew in and you had to put your finger to the nose. Bill managing the paper routes and his good old buddy Mick. Bob playing hockey on the ice with nothing but a stick. Remember Dwayne and Johnny, cousin Leon living with us. And a few times Dad came home late, but we never heard Mom cuss. Getting coal and chunk wood, the potatoes that would rotten, play with leaves and rubber guns, and calls from Della Botten. Bob and her son didn't get along too good, and they were always getting in a fight, and Della would call them. But the town was causing problems to the folks and children, for I guess the stick that broke the back was the breaking of the door. They used to have, in them days when the new cars came in, the new year and that, they'd hide them until they were going to show them. And we found out where they were hiding, and I broke a couple boards off so we could get in and drive them for a while. And got caught by the police. So back to the country we did go. Yeah. That's, I think, why we moved back to the country. So back to the country we did go before it got too late. Dad bought the farm out by the Dome in the year of '48. We farmed the land and fenced it and enjoyed the country air and all the good times in the fall up at the county fair. We had Captain then, that was a big dog, and old Prince too, and cows and pigs and all, and Michael got his arm hurt when I kicked the basketball. Bob and I were kicking it across, and Michael sitting down there and hit him with the basketball. Yep, broke his arm.
Wow, that was quite a kick.
We kept the freezer on the porch, the water pumped by hand, and it was rough adjusting back to the outdoor can, and it was. We broke the ice in winter so the cows could have a drink, and the skunks would always beat the dogs when they would really stink. We chopped the wood and made fence posts and watched the squirrels a-flying, and when Captain bit the tire, we were worried about him dying. When trucks would come in, he'd bite at the wheels, and one ran over his bottom jaw and couldn't eat. So then...
Did he survive?
Yeah. Then in 1949, Bill married Betty Jean, And he had his big black Buick, a really neat machine. They lived out in the cabin. It was really different then. Remember when we cleaned it? The mess was made by hens. That cabin that we're going to see was a chicken coop, and it had about that much chicken dung in it. We had to go in and clean it all out so we could live there. Bob joined the Air Force. I went south to live with Uncle Jim. That was in West Bend. And then in 1950, tragedy struck again. Uncle Claude was on vacation, fishing with Fred and Bill. His heart stopped by the river. He never made the hill. Dad had jury duty, and Mom the farming did. I was too important to be a farmer's kid. So Dad sold the farm in '51 and everything he owned. Bert and Millie joined the folks on a trip to San Antonio, because Brother Bob was in the Air Force down there. They drove the Olds of Kleckner's. That was the guy that owned the car. Bert hated city driving. Mom copied all the clever rhymes because Burma shave was thriving. Dad worked the urban, the muffler plant. They moved to Iowa. They ran the Baker farm a while and fed the cattle hay. Bob came home from service to visit for a while. His car broke down. I had to pull. Mom counted every mile. Yeah, we just tied a rope between the two cars, and I was pulling him back to Iowa. Mom was with us. Mom had a squirrel in Iowa. He really ran the place. He'd get into everything and give Mom quite a chase. But Iowa wasn't for the folks. They wanted home to see. So back to Neillsville and the cabs in 1953. They moved up by the North Side School before coming to 4th Street. Then they stopped moving for a while, which was really quite a treat. I went to Topeka in the spring of '53. There was a wedding going on, Mary Ellen, Bobby Lee. Remember when I dashed inside, was parked out in the street, I ran back out to go to work and lost our parakeet. We had a little parakeet that when I ran in, he landed on my shoulder, and I didn't know he was there. Went out, when I saw him try to grab him, that was it. And when you had your puppy, little Peppy was so small. She used to listen to you talk and understood it all. Mom drove the cab by daylight, Dad drove the cab by night. Dad worked the Farmers Union and all was going right. And then in 1955, Bill to Roscoe went. Bob was in New Mexico and I was in a tent, was in the Army. I was in the Army going off to Leonardwood. Mike was going to grade school and helping when he could. And then I missed a few years, and all I can remember was a car truck accident one night. It was later in December. That's when I was home on leave for Christmas and got in that accident and spent 4 months in the Great Lakes Navy Hospital. I was gone for 3 full years, returned in '58, and it was good to get back home. In fact, I'd say it's great. Bob was back in Rockford, I was back in town, Bill was still in Roscoe, and Mike was still school-bound. Then I too moved to Rockford. Bob went to Albuquerque. Bob to Albuquerque went. Bill was hauling Bubble Up, Pop, and Mike in school time spent. Then you finally moved to Rockford in 1961. Half the family was together and it was really fun. Bill and I worked at the post office at the P.O. Dad grand opened 66 gas station. Mike was going off to Auburn, but Mom was in a fix. She never did like Rockford, had a yearning for Neillsville, and would return regardless of what was said by I and Bill. But while in Rockford working, there were good things in our life, and one of those good moments was when Nita became my wife.
She's over here.
There were some good times in that house. Dad fulfilled Mom's wishes. She got herself a dining set and all those pretty dishes. We used to picnic in the grapes. The weather was fair one time was more fun than the rest because Mick and Bob's were there. You got your TV, remote control, but not everything was fun. We had to make the trip back north. Fred died in '61. Michael was a football star, but everything was fine. The game was overshadowed by the dog show at halftime. I think a couple dogs are out there in the middle of the field making love. And but 1962 was hard, especially for you, Father. Aunt Vera died in March that year, and June took your dear mother. Then Mom and Mike both wanted home to be back in Wisconsin. The business sold, and back they went to live out in the cabin. Dad worked the city for a while, and then the DX station. Bob moved back to help them out, and again the cabs were racing. That went on for several years, and then we got the word that Dad had sold the station and went to work for Ford. That brings us up to 66, and then in 71, a little jump there, Mike and Judy married. That took your remaining son. Dad finally retired after 10 long years at Ford, but being town board chairman keeps him from being bored. Now he helps at making pallets. You bowl several times a week. You have company quite often, so entertainment you don't seek. We did something one day that really made you shiver. We drove up to Somerset, it was up by the Twin Cities, and went tubing down the river. Took Mom and Dad. Then in June of this year, in 1979, another sad occurrence involving the divine. Grandma Habro was to leave us for a new and greater life, a life of peace and happiness away from worldly strife. That brings us up to date now, the last 50 in a nutshell. And speaking for all of us, the years have really been swell. I know I've missed a lot of things, but I really spent some time on getting all of this lined up and trying to make it rhyme. God bless your anniversary, and for many years to come, as parents, you're always tops. We love you, your 4 sons.
Wow.
So, that was quite a task, but... Now, well, let me, hey, wait, I gotta tell you something. We're coming up to the Black River here. Me and Donald Turner were racing home one night, and I was passing him, and we kind of clicked bumpers, and I went round in the middle of this bridge.
Like right here?
Yep, right here. This should be our old farm here. I think I'll go in and see if anybody's home.
Why don't the dogs run up here?
Was the barn there?
Well, the barn was there, but right over in front on the other side was a woodshed. The pump used to be right out here. We used to have pigs right down there. And that tractor picture, remember them old tractors?
Yeah.
They used to sit right there.
Oh, gotcha. Like the bones of the
And was this where you got knocked in the head with the centrifugal force?
Going out to the field where Dad was. This, I'm telling you now, this is where we walked every day to school from our farmhouse.
So
Now, I'm telling you honestly, we used to walk, and in the winter time, we could put the telephone wires on our hands. The snow was so high going across there. There was a brick schoolhouse here, and of course there was an outside to go down to the basement. That's where we went to hide from the tornado that came across our farmland, and when it hit the river, it sucked up water, and that's what knocked the tornado. That happens to a lot of them when they suck water up. Anyway, this was a one-room brick schoolhouse. The play yard was there going out to the highway, but it was fenced. There was 2 buildings back here. One was the ladies' toilet, the men's toilet. One big pan on the toilet, 1 finger, 2 fingers.
Seriously? That's personal.
This Donald Turner that I told you about that had a little accident on the bridge, he hated school, so whenever he'd go to the bathroom, he'd hightail it for home. We'd have to run after him and get him, because he didn't like
That
school.
would have been Paul.
Yeah.
Huh.
And about the only thing we
Gonna
played,
take a while.
about the only thing we played, we had a big old rubber ball that we used to kick, and of course sometimes go over the fence and you had to go out and retrieve the ball. The one room same school had one row was first grade, one second, one third, one fourth, one fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. So probably maybe 5, 6 per row. So it'll be about 40, 30, 40 kids.
And one teacher.
Yeah, one teacher.
And teaching all 8th grade.
And one Richard Cup.
She'd
I hope she
teach.
got the Golden Apple Award.
Yeah, because she'd teach this grade and this grade. But you know, it kind of worked out. She got to hear so many things.
Yeah.
But we used to have to take goiter pills. They were iodine pills. But they called them goiter tablets because that was so you didn't get goiter.
Scraping goiters. That
Had a
used to
big
hang.
bottle of pills, and every morning they'd pass it around. Everybody take a pill. And
What was it supposed to help you so weird.
goiters, you know, they used to call that thing in your throat.
Did a lot of people get goiters back then?
Back then, and then they discovered that iodine, you know.
Yeah, iodine. That's salt.
And then if we had anything warm, which was very rare, was probably brooms and milk. So you had to raise your hand pretty often to go out to the toilet. But
So the bowels move. and the
anyway,
goiters
once in a
come out.
while, our teacher lived south of town and she had a Model A, and once in a while, if we were lucky, by the time we got down to the highway, she might pick us up and give us a ride.
Really? And so,
Normally we walked.
how long did it take you to get from school? How early did you start? Extracurricular activities, maybe?
Well, there wasn't too many. We just kept
What did
walking.
you think?
How many miles was it then?
I don't know. I didn't check. When did you first start coming out here? But
So you go back out this way to the highway, and then you go down that way back to the farm?
back to the farm, yeah. Of course, that other highway that we turned when we came from the farm, went into town, that wasn't a highway then. They rebuilt, they rerouted it so the highway didn't go through.
Did you have to bring your sick
But it was
to
for the veteran memorial. They did it.
No, no, it was because there was a sharp turn in Neillsville. Highway 10 came right through, and the big semis had a problem getting around the corner,
Dad,
so they rerouted the...
What time did you have to be to school?
I don't know.
Dad, were these telephone lines that you could touch because the snow was so good?
No, them are highline wires. You wouldn't want to touch those. Them are electric. The telephone was just the one with a little glass bulb.
But the snow was so high, he could walk and touch those.
Yeah, I mean, we used to wait in the wintertime for the plows to come because it was exciting. Big plows and wings to push the snow away, but and it didn't happen. I mean, it might have been 3 or 4 days before a plow came down your road. But
And then Dickie, you were born at home. The
I was born
doctor
home.
came.
Bob was born at home. I don't think there was a doctor.
The home that we were just at?
Yeah, Bob was born and Lloyd was born there. Of course, Lloyd died about 6 weeks after.
Mom didn't have any assistance or anything?
I didn't, well, I don't know.
Did you know
I was
when you were
pretty
born
young
when
then,
it was
but
empty?
I was pretty young at the
No,
time, but
Well, Dad, was it winter that Lloyd was born?
yeah, he was born in February. I was
And
born
then he got
January.
pneumonia. Did anybody else have pneumonia? Did he catch it from somebody?
I don't think so. I don't know. Brother Bill was born in West He was the only one born in the hospital here in Neillsville.
So Dad, when she was having the baby, did somebody call for the doctor or did he just know and he came to visit after the baby was born?
If I remember rightly, he couldn't make it out.
Yeah.
Didn't you say you weren't paid for it? Or something?
Yeah, well,
Child
maybe
on
then
the
I must
state.
have had a doctor, yeah,
Yeah.
because I just,
Yeah.
I never got paid for it, so
Yeah.
I don't know who owned the baby.
The state of Wisconsin.
State, you
owns
think so?
them.
We do now.
Hillsville's own.
You're ours.
You like that? Watch your
But I think that, if I remember that, we took the team and wagon up to Mildred, which was Dad's sister, lived up by the Neillsville Mound, which is there somewhere. And I thought they said that we did that night, and then I was born when we got home. Used to heat up bricks and stuff to put your feet on in the wagon.
You guys were so resourceful.
But this used to be a little brick schoolhouse.
Now it's
No, it was
What
that
was
one
the green
there.
one?
It was
Got
the
it.
green
If
one,
Uncle
not
Andy's
this one.
filming, we should be good, right?
But we used to crawl underneath there and hook, double, triple hook trying, but it was
The
against the
house
law.
they
You know,
moved into.
of course, there'd be some guys up on top, and when the police come by to check, why we'd be underneath.
Nice
just,
little
you know,
house.
waiting for 'em to.
We need to take a
Okay,
picture.
anyway, this is where we moved from the farm into this house. And we used to have a huge garden back there where that's all green. We had a big potatoes. My gosh, we had potato plants. And,
Does it look the same, the house?
no. I don't remember that. But it had a staircase going up on the north side. Go up, there was a landing, and then you went back up. And then there was a bedroom, 4 bedrooms, and the bath was upstairs. The only bath was upstairs at the top of the stairs. There's another bedroom in the back corner here. That was a dining room and a living room, and the kitchen was back behind.
Do you remember if was Grandma happy to be in town?
Oh yeah, I think she liked it. She had a nice, well, I mean, we had running water and electricity and, you know, all the things we didn't have on the farm.
Why would she want to move back out in like that little bitty place when she lived here?
Oh, I don't think that they wanted to necessarily. Dad wanted to probably go back. Or maybe it was just because they thought the kids were getting in trouble in town, and I mean, maybe I caused it, I don't know. But
Did anybody live in the farmhouse then when you guys moved into town, or just sat vacant?
we had an auction and sold everything. I suppose somebody bought it. I don't remember who
But
did.
then you bought it back from them and moved back out there?
Oh, no, we moved to a different farmhouse by the Silver Dome then.
So Dad,
But-
when you said your grandpa bought the farmhouse in 1911, did he live there until you guys moved in there?
Oh,
I mean,
no,
was
he
there
got
another
killed
owner?
in 33.
Hey, did Grandma and Grandpa Kopfer live with his dad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he
Oh,
lived in
oh,
the same
sorry.
house as they did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I didn't know
And
if.
then there's a
Yeah.
car coming down there.
That was what I was getting at.
Anyway, Brother Bill lived over here long. I mean, there were some people named Jibos that lived there. They went to California, and then somehow Bill lived there when he had the taxis. And Everett Fox lived upstairs, which doesn't mean a thing, but anyway, Bud lived there. They had a car garage down behind, and we had a club back there. I forget what the name of it was, but we used to all go up in the top of the garage and smoke up there. That was our smoking place.
Where was it, Dad?
It was down. There was a driveway on Tony's house that
Okay.
went down, and the our garage was back a ways.
And they didn't know you were smoking there? Or you...
Oh, I'm sure they did, but
And Tony smoked a pipe or smoked
yeah.
cigars
Well,
or
that
something.
was that thing that I had between passing back and forth of Bond Street. He smoked Bond Street, and Dad smoked Velvet. So they were always trying to sneak a can of the other guys underneath the Christmas tree, and they'd always pass it back and forth. Each Christmas, somebody'd get it back. But we can go around. I don't know if you want to go just see
Show
where.
her Aunt Judy live.
All right.
Yeah, he just was telling us that
And then,
her brother still lives there, so that's Randy. Okay.
yeah, and then I'll just go by, show you where the North Side School, it's not there anymore. There was a house across the street where Mom and Dad lived for maybe a couple months when they came back from Iowa before they went down to 4th Street. But
Why would they
another
move?
name,
What would make them want to move once they were here?
another nice name you'd like was the guy that lived up across the way was Bitsy Wasserberger.
Bitsy Wasserberger?
What's up?
You can't make stuff up like that.
He
This is
just said
Wasserburger.
Can I get some
they used
spelling
to
on
go
that?
up here and get hot water out of the swell from Frosty Kurt's house.
want to hear
And
more
they had to
stories
lower
about
the
this
pail
French guy
and
that
then
always
bring it
did
all up, and he
another-
goes, he didn't care.
That
And I
was
said,
hilarious.
Frosty Kurt's, yeah.
It could have been, I don't know. There's the cabin. But we cut down these pine trees, that's all knotty pine inside. We cut our own pine and covered up the lumber and built, and finished the cabin inside.
After graduation, Leanne went out looking for a bright new world. Long and looked all around this town, and all she found was a girl. Well, it wasn't 2 weeks after she got married that one started getting abused. Put on dark glasses, frosty blouses, and makeup found to decide that Earl had to die. Na, 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 na.
No, man. I don't.
Na, na,
what?
na,
I
sweet eyes of me, girl. You can't wait. Why don't you lay down and sleep, girl? Ain't it dark? Wrapped up in that
That was amazing, man. Like, it's hard to understand how good those guys are, how fast they are, how their hand-eye coordination.
Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so blue. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes